What's up, guys? Tom Wiggum, founder of Self Love Army. I'm excited to be here today and talk to you guys about the 30 days challenge that I want to do. 30 days to self-love, self-acceptance, self-belief, successful dating, how to be hardcore. So today, basically, I'm going to invite you guys to join a bunch of other guys from my Facebook community. I've got about 700 guys in the community right now that are going to be doing a attempt to do a radical transformation of themselves, gaining confidence, improving their ability to feel self-love. We argue that you have an innate self-love, and I'll explain why in some future videos. But the idea is to feel it more. How do you feel it more? So people are going to essentially be exercising self-care and avoiding self-harm and systematically eradicating negative beliefs, limiting beliefs, things that are holding them back. We're going to talk a lot about acceptance. We're going to talk a lot about real confidence, real self-esteem, belief in the context of your own improvement, your own emotional reality, taking responsibility for your beliefs, responsibility for yourself, and why that will help you ultimately be the most attractive you can be in a dating context and engage in optimal relationships. So that's a big introduction to saying basically, when you love yourself, when you have confidence, when you have self-belief, you're going to be more successful with women. You're going to be happier with yourself, obviously. And things like anxiety, things like depression, things like having a negative orientation to reality. If you interacted with the woman, instead of thinking it would be her loss if you didn't continue to interact together, or instead of thinking, good, you can go meet someone else now that you engage, that you like more, you might think, oh, I failed, or oh, I did shitty. And yeah, there might be ways you can improve socially, but the idea is to prevent those negative truths to be your beliefs so that they're not dominating how you see yourself, so that you can have a positive orientation to yourself, that you can give yourself permission to express yourself, that you can come to feel yourself fully emotionally. You don't suppress your emotions and feelings. You learn to let them out. We don't ruminate on negative emotions. We don't just sit there and constantly dwell on them. No, we don't suppress them either. And basically, again, this is all in the context of meeting women and loving yourself. These are going to be the two kind of pieces of the puzzle where when you have self-love, you have belief, you have confidence, you feel good, you have an abundant mindset, things are possible. Interacting with strangers is normal and okay. Giving someone a compliment when you see them is not only fine, but it's a good thing. It's going to get you out of your shell, get you out of your head, get you into your real feelings, and give you genuine confidence. And you're going to do that by working on yourself internally and by putting yourself in situations that might stress you out normally, but over time you're going to experience them and they're going to become normalized. And then you're going to stop being afraid of them. You're going to quit avoiding them. So in my past, for example, I didn't like crowds. I would avoid crowds. I would shop at certain times of the day because I didn't want to be around a bunch of people. This was years ago now, but what I made myself do was go be in crowds and realize they weren't dangerous, and then I never avoided crowds again. That is a common type of avoidance for anxiety reasons that people don't even realize is putting a lock on what they think is possible for themselves. Going to the movies by yourself, for example, some people feel like that's weird. Then they go, and all of a sudden it's one of their favorite things to do on a lazy day, just go to a movie by themselves. Obviously, in the context of approaching a beautiful woman, the word approach is incredibly dramatic. You know, it sounds like, oh, I approached the ledge. What you did was you said, hey, you know, you said hi, you complimented her, you smiled, you made eye contact. And in that second, you made a harmless, non-threatening compliment or comment, and you read the energy of the moment. And if it was positive and she reacted positively, you continued the interaction. There's no need for a lot of the crazy stuff that the pickup community talks about in terms of being successful. There's no harm in being polarizing or dramatic per se, but I just feel like the average emotionally healthy, well-adjusted woman doesn't necessarily appreciate that. They appreciate your confidence. They appreciate your charisma. They appreciate your charm. They appreciate you being amused. They appreciate you genuinely appreciating them. And that's why I think leading with something more benign, something more genuine that you notice about them, or just a funny comment about the situation is better than some of the more polarizing comments from the pickup community when it comes to meeting people. That being said, through the next 30 days, we're going to do a lot of work. And in that work, you're going to really transform. You're going to come to feel like you love yourself in ways that you never have. You're going to come to accept yourself fully in ways that you haven't. You're going to come to understand how to believe in yourself fully in ways that you didn't know was possible. We're going to change what you think of in terms of self-belief. We're going to change what you think of in terms of self-acceptance. And it's going to start with the idea of loving yourself and being a protector and a lover of others, being a man who has values, being a man who has boundaries. So we're going to talk about all of that stuff. For today's video, thank you for joining us and being here. If you're still here, by the way, I appreciate you guys being here. Let's start with a basic gratitude list. So each day you're making a list of things that you're grateful for, and you're going to expand on that list. Just handwrite it, because once it's written, I want you to take 30 seconds and meditate on each of those things, focusing on not suppressing any emotional associations. This is pretty simple. You just sit there, give yourself a couple things you're grateful for, and let them impact you. Really try to feel that gratitude for it. Don't suppress any emotional association, good, bad, otherwise. Let that feeling come. And you'll get more used to feeling that feeling as you do this. It's something really simple that you can do. The reason that we handwrite it is just because it takes a little bit more thoughtfulness to handwrite than it does to mindlessly type. And you want to be spending a little bit of time sitting in those moments with those gratitudes. The second thing I want you guys to start after this video is an intense exercise regimen. I always model my things after Arthur Jones' West Point experiment, which you can Google. Tim Ferriss talks about it in his books. My buddy Drew Bay, I've had him on the podcast before, which we'll be posting to YouTube coming up. We're going to do daily videos and also pretty much daily podcasts as well. But www.bay.com, you can find high-intensity training programs from him on there. I recommend 2 a week. Ellington Darden talks about it. Doug McGuff. Lots of guys have talked about this stuff. But for me, this is what works. High intensity, brief and frequent and intense. Focusing on making exercises hard. To me, this is a mental thing as much as it is a physical thing. I just had appendectomy surgery, so I'm very eager to get back into the gym. I've been out of it for like about a month. I was like slow to come back. And so we're getting back in earnest, and I look forward to talking about that. But you're going to want to start an exercise program that pushes you and gets you to push yourself safely. So slow and controlled, perfect form, bust your ass to failure, momentary muscular failure. Learn what that is. It's much beyond what you think when you first feel like you need to stop a rep. Keep going and learn what your limits are. That's going to be important later in the context of doing other things and making you hardcore. It's also going to have incredible emotional benefits for you. The exercise, the intensity of it, the stress relief of it. If you read the book, The Depression Cure by Stephen Illardi, he talks about sunlight in the morning, importance of fish oil, don't ruminate, talk to friends and family, and exercise being incredibly important for raising mood, not just for beating depression, but if you're at a 7, bring you to a 9 or a 10. If you're at a 2, bring you to a 5 kind of thing. It works for everyone. And so some kind of intense exercise is something that I recommend. I've seen it get the best results for guys that I'm coaching. Third thing I want you to do is journal each day about your emotions. The reason this is important is you get to identify certain emotional patterns that are materializing regularly in your life and start to analyze those and stop associating with them as much, start to catch them. This is a big part of starting to change how we believe we are and what we believe reality is, what we believe our emotional truths are. Because at the end of the day, we're responsible for our beliefs, no one else. And we'll talk about that in a future video. For now, just journal about your day a little bit, specifically certain emotions or things that stress you out. Start to notice those things. And really in journaling, you're going to get a lot of that. It's almost like channeling. You're going to summon whatever energy was in there. You're going to get it out of yourself, and all of a sudden it's gone. You write about it and it's gone. It's a big thing. It helps you gain awareness and it helps you get it off your chest. The fourth thing, probably the most important, is the concept of anchor thoughts. And when we have anxiety, these kind of patterns and loops inside our heads, when we have negative self-talk, that pops up, oh, we're not good enough, oh, I'm not worthy, obviously she wouldn't like me, making excuses for ourselves. Those become kind of anchors to our being and our sense of identity. Instead, we're going to stop that shit. Instead, we're going to have new anchor thoughts. The new anchor thought I like to use is I love myself. I want you to say I love myself 100 times a day. adding 100 more to it each day till you get up to 700 times a day. Sounds ridiculous, but you can say I love myself and think it really rapidly. Basically 1 a second even. So, 700 seconds is not that many at the end of a week, but just starting with 100, you can do 10 at a time. You might even be able to get it done in less than 10 seconds if you're doing 10 at a time quickly. Why are we doing this? What we want to do is create a new anchor thought for ourselves that's inside ourselves that we can use as a pattern interrupt to interrupt negative self-thinking. So the I'm not good enough becomes I love myself. Bang, I just shot it before I could even finish it. I'm not good. I love myself. Bang. You get used to having this pop into your head. Just having it mindlessly, monotonely in your mind as a pattern interrupt, I find it's still effective. There are still suggestions and implications to it that can help. But if you spend time meditating on that feeling as well, and really at night visualizing that you love yourself, visualizing the feeling that you do, you'll supercharge the expression for yourself. And we'll talk more about that in other videos. But for now, just say I love myself a bunch. Just say it and try to mean it. Try to feel it. Don't suppress any feelings you have towards it. Really work towards it. A lot of guys, when they say they love themselves, have trouble feeling that. And that's something we're going to get into, how to feel that more. But I can say this, the more that you take care of yourself and avoid harming yourself, the more you can feel like you love yourself. There's a behavioral aspect to this. It's not a bunch of woo-woo stuff. It's not a bunch of crazy, mythic stuff. It's pretty simple. When you change your behavior and you change how you think, you can change how you feel. This isn't from understanding. This isn't something you can think your way towards. This is something you need to act your way towards. You need to change fundamentally how you act and try to get control of how you think by putting new stimuluses in there, new criteria in there, new awarenesses in there. So for now, I love myself 100 times a day, add 100 a day for a week. Start that journaling. I recommend high-intensity exercise like Arthur Jones, like Tim Ferriss talked about in his books, like Drew Bay writes about, like Ellington Darden does. I recommend you guys look them up. Dorian Yates won I think 6 or 7 Mr. Olympias. He did high-intensity training off Arthur Jones. He was like the biggest bodybuilder in the world for a long time, and he was working out like an hour a couple times a week, and that's it. And this is a guy who is in an arena where most people are working out 4 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week, and he was doing an hour a couple times a week, just because he understood the importance of intensity and rest. So it's something to look into and consider, regardless of if it's physically optimal and you disagree about that. Certainly working to the point of momentary muscular failure on your arms, then switching to your chest, or starting at your legs, let's say, going to your back, then your chest, then your arms, without really much rest. The intensity of that is going to be something that's mentally very good for you. It's very difficult to get into something that's that intense for you that's not more dangerous. If done in a slow, controlled manner, the intensity of that exercise can be done safely, immediately. And there's very few things in this world that are that intense that aren't dangerous. So it's one of these ways where you can constantly expose yourself to heaps of intensity in a safe way that's not only safe, it's incredibly good for you. It might be optimally physically efficient as well. And so we've got that, and then we've got our gratitude list. And the video is going long, so I just appreciate you guys being here. And post any questions or comments below. You can join Self-Love Army on Facebook. It's a group of like 700 guys. It's growing by, 100 a week sometimes. So we're really getting big. And I look forward to having more of you in the group, in the channel, and participating in the 30-day challenge. There will be more videos each day on this challenge. We're going to shoot for like 5 a week for the challenge, for a 30-day challenge. And we're also going to have podcasts with the top guys in self-development, overcoming fear, dating, being successful with women, and lots of different strategies on that, emotional development and progress. And I'm going to be posting all that to the channel as well. Thank you guys for being here. I appreciate your time.